Well, welcome into Golden Blue Dude, everyone. I'm Joy Foster. Golden Blue Dude called me about 30 minutes ago, and he's gotten a stomach virus or something. He's not feeling very well. So he asked me if I'd come on and do a show. So I am the most unprepared person to do a show right now. But hey, man, we're all here together. Let's all just hang out a little while. We'll talk some college football about anything you'd like to talk about. And but one thing we will say this about the Pac-12. So they're in negotiations still with all kinds of rumors and speculation out there as to what's going to happen there. Of course, they're probably talking to Apple TV. I don't know about that, but I'm sure they are. Probably talking to Hulu. Probably talking to everyone, trying to get a TV deal ironed out, laid out. We do know pretty sure that San Diego State is a lock to go into the Pac-12. What about another school like SMU or Fresno State? We don't know. We can only speculate at this time. So, but once again, everyone, welcome in. Glad you're here. Big shout out to everyone here in the chat with us tonight. So Christopher Coda, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you. Earl Carr says, "Hey, Golden Blue Dude." Yeah, unfortunately, Golden Blue Dude ain't here. Well, we're all Golden Blue Dude, right? The whole channel is Golden Blue Dude. You are Golden Blue Dude. Tyler says, "Love your show. Huge fan. Thanks for being a fan there, Tyler. We appreciate you." Sir UGA's here. Yeah. He says, "The real question is, are you crazy?" Yeah, I'm crazy, Sir UGA. You know that. Brandon H is here. Appreciate you being here, Brandon. Cindy, appreciate you being in here with us tonight, too. Larry Pilgrim, as always, man, we appreciate you being here. Alan Aaron, M. Morris, appreciate all of you being here tonight. You bet. Sarah Foster, our fearless moderator out there. She does a great job for Golden Blue Dude. Appreciate her being here. Ron McClure and Christian, appreciate you being here. Ron says SMU second team, possibly. Who knows? Christian says on Wisconsin, Joey. Yeah. Jackson Johnson's here. What's up, Jackson? Nice to see you here, man. So Hillbilly Skeptic, hey buddy, how you doing, buddy? Appreciate you being here with us. And Kurt Blake, go Boise State. Yeah, hey Boise State. Why not Boise State? Somebody make some noise for Boise State to get in the pack. A great tradition of football there. I've always liked Boise State. Had some huge upsets in their lifetime. But I was looking around some articles today, and I came across one that was real interesting. And I can actually share this with the screen so we can go over this together. I want to show you guys a little thing about why the SEC and the Pac-12 are worth so much more money in college football, why they're getting so much more money. Let's take a look at this right here. Now, this is the new college football attendance records that have come out for. All right, so this includes 2022, but this is a 5-year span, okay? Let's look at the top 10 here. Number 1, Michigan, with an average attendance of 88,322. That's 82% of their stadium filled over a 5-year period. Average attendance in 2022 was 110,246. That's amazing. So Michigan, number 1. But let's go down through here. Penn State was number 2. Texas A&M, number 3. So you have 2 Big Ten teams, then an SEC team. LSU, another SEC team, number 4. Alabama, SEC, number 5. Ohio State, Big Ten, number 6. Texas, Big 12, number 7. Georgia, SEC, number 8. Tennessee, SEC, number 9. Auburn, SEC, number 10, right? But they don't stop there. Let's go on down here and look at the next one. Let's go down a page here. Scroll down to the bottom here. Go up. So number 11, Oklahoma, Big 12. Number 12, Florida, SEC. Number 13, Nebraska, Big 10. Number 14, Clemson, ACC. Number 15, Notre Dame, Independent. Number 16, South Carolina, SEC. Number 17, Wisconsin, Big 10. 18, Michigan State, Big 10. 19, Iowa, Big 10. Arkansas, that's 20, SEC. Florida State, ACC, number 21. You got to get all the way to 22 before you finally get to a Pac-12 team, and that's Washington. Average attendance 52,000 over a 5-year period. So that's half of what the number 1 team in the nation is getting. And then you go back, you got another BYU coming into the Big 12 right now. Then Iowa State, also Big 12, and Virginia Tech, ACC. And we'll take a look at one more page here. Now it's going to have some. It's going to have some Big 12 or some Pac-12 teams on it. I'm sure. So let's look here. So then we go to uh, number 26, Ole Miss, SEC. Number 27, Kentucky, SEC. 28, USC. Finally got another Pac-12 team in here, USC. Average attendance 47,101 over a 5-year period. 29, Texas Tech, Big 12. Mississippi State, 30, SEC. Oklahoma State, 31, Big 12. ACC. West Virginia, 33, Big 12. Purdue, 34, Big 10. Missouri, 35, Big 10. Miami, 36, ACC. 37, Oregon, Pac-12. So there's another Pac-12. Kansas State, Louisville, Utah, North Carolina, Baylor, Arizona State, 43. So that's another Pac-12. Pitt, Colorado, another Pac-12. So out of the top 45 teams, only 4 of them are Pac-12. Then you go to 46 is UCLA, so that makes 15 out of 46, or 5 out of 46, I'm sorry. So, and it goes all the way to 50. So 5 out of the top 50 teams are in the Pac-12. And that's it. And all the rest are SEC, Big 12, Big 10, and ACC. So there's no wonder that they're having a little bit of trouble filling their TV, getting a TV sponsorship. You need to fill your stadiums out there, guys. And I realize that a lot of schools in the Pac-12 are in pro states. All right, so if you look at Washington, for instance, so Seattle's a pro city, right, in Washington. But then you go down to California, USC, they're a pro city. UCLA, pro city, but UCLA doesn't fill their stadium at all. We all know that. They might get 5,000-6,000 people at their stadium, it seems like sometimes. We have to support our schools. So if you're in the Pac-12, support your school a little bit, and I think you might get better TV deals. As if we notice, the Big 10 and the SEC, man, their TV deals are tremendous. And it's all because they have they're filling their stadiums, especially the Big 10. My goodness, every Big 10 team, it seems like, is in the top 30 there. I'm going to post a StreamYard link. Like I said, I don't have a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm going to post a StreamYard link. If you'd like to come in, ask a question, let's talk some college football. Come on in, and we'll talk about whatever you'd like to talk about, whatever you want to bring up. I'll just bring like one person in at a time in the stream, and then we can talk until somebody else joins us. Or if you just have a question and want to leave, that's fine too. But come on in and join us, and we'll talk some college football. So I'll go back over here to this, and like I say, it really amazes me. What really gets me is the fact that the Big 10, especially Michigan, number 1, with that attendance record over a 5-year period, man, that's hard to believe. 110,000 people average attendance over in 2022, and the average attendance over a 5-year period was 88,000. I mean, that's tremendous. Hey, we got Hillbilly Sketchy coming in with us. What do you say, Hillbilly? You're muted, Hillbilly.
Hey there, Joey. How you doing this evening, buddy?
Good, man. What's going on?
Wow. All those schools, only 5 of the Pac-12 in the top 50, man.
Only 5. That's right. I mean, and there's no wonder they can't get a TV contract right away. If there's no more interest in the teams than that, who would want to cover them?
Well, I mean, also you got to think, Joey. The Pac-12 is making moves right for the academics over athletics, right? Going for their research money,
right?
It's like what you prioritize is it's like, well, where you put your what you prioritize is what you're going to get. And if you're not prioritizing football when you make sports conference moves, you're going to suffer. I think it's like the Pac-12. Can we consider it a Power 5 conference once they lose everybody?
Yeah, I know, and you're bringing in San Diego State, and of course they're autonomous five, so they're going to remain Power Five status, obviously.
Right.
But how are they going to be viewed in the eyes of the media when the AP polls come out? How are they going to be viewed as far as strength of schedule and things? So I think that's going to have a lot to do with it. And like I say, if you're going to make a mark in television and you're going to be out there in TV, you need to have fans in your stands.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Who wants to? Now live from California, a half-empty stadium for you to enjoy watching. Yeah. Who wants to
Right.
watch that?
Right. Because if the fans aren't excited about their football team, then obviously the rest of the country is not going to be excited about watching them. That's how I feel. If UCLA is coming on at 10 o'clock at night, let's say UCLA and Utah are coming on at 10 o'clock at night, they're kicking off at UCLA, and I'll watch that. I would want to watch that game. I'm a college football fan, but I'm not going to be very excited when it comes on and there's 12,000 people in the stadium.
Well, yeah. And how about this one too, Joey? If you lose your major football programs to, let's say, bigger football conferences, who do you want to have for bowl game? If all the good teams are in the good conferences, who are you going to have to play in big bowl games? Or the ones you do play in, you're going to get trounced every year. And it's it's going to start this, you could almost say like an algorithmic decline in the type of football you're going to produce and the type of football people are going to watch.
It's almost like saying, really in a way, the Pac-12, they don't need to merge with the Big 12, obviously, but they probably should. And the reason why is they could make a good, strong conference between all those teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to happen. It's the likelihood of that happening is extremely low. But they can make a good, strong conference. Now, Big 12's a pretty strong conference in itself, in its own right.
Yeah.
But the Pac-12, once USC and UCLA leave it, it may not be but a few years before Oregon and Washington and Stanford leave as well. So then what are the four corner schools going to do then?
Right. I mean, why wouldn't you want to get out of the Pac-12 now? If you're wanting, if you're a decent football program and you want to keep eyes on your program so the money's rolling in, why would you stay in the Pac-12 right now?
Right. Hey, Larry, I see you backstage. Can you turn your camera on for me a second, buddy? Just for a second there, Larry. Okay, Larry. Thanks, buddy.
The thing that gets me here, though, Joey, is like with all the football programs, right, going to coalesce around, fewer and fewer conferences. Man, Notre Dame's going to have to shit or get off the pot here in a minute, man.
They're holding up a lot of this conference realignment. If they would make a decision, I think a lot of teams could make a decision. Because they would go ahead and join the ACC if that's where they want to join. If they'd go ahead and join it, then we would know that ACC is solidified and not going anywhere. That Florida State and Miami and Clemson and all those teams are going to stay right there. They're not going to jump ship. They'll stay there. So that would mean a lot. Go ahead, Larry.
My school is the University of Utah, and so I can speak from knowledge. So when people say research and this and that, and this is about football and stuff, but you have to remember these are universities to begin with. They, sports came out as a little side fun thing, whatever, and it's grown and we love it and it's great and it's bringing in some money. But okay, you've got Phil Knight, right, at Oregon. He's given over $1 billion to their athletic program. What do you think $5 to $10 million a year from a TV contract is going to mean to Phil Knight? It's about exposure. It's not about these PAC schools. You think Stanford and Cal are hurting for money? It's not about the money. It's really not. It's about the prestige. So the University of Utah, and I don't know where John Huntsman, he's given over $1 billion in research to the University of Utah. The Eccles Foundation gives hundreds of millions of dollars. So you're talking about the elite of the elite people that run this country. And they're the ones that are kind of deciding what's going on. And so when you're talking about affiliations, do you think a tech guy at Stanford who's giving billions and millions or whatever of dollars to the program wants to rub elbows with some Texas billionaire? You know, they're just different people. We talk about cultures just in the football program. The cultures at the top are different. So, I mean, people have got to just look at the big scope of this.
You got
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. But
It's not just
like
cultures
you said,
of the
just like
the
you said,
fans,
though,
it's
one thing they need, though, is exposure. So they give billions of dollars a year to these universities to get exposure and things within their football program. So Knight, sure, donates $1 billion to Oregon to get some exposure. If they're playing in the Pac-12 and they're not going to be in prime time on a primetime network, that can make it a little difficult to get that exposure. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Now, here's what's funny, Joey. Okay, we've had all these big battles going on between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and SEC fans coming in and flexing, right? And they all go, we don't watch the Pac-12 anyway. Well, if you don't watch it, what the shit do you care where the hell we're being broadcast? Because you don't watch it anyway. So what do you care? That's what's funny to me.
You're taking up our bowl spots, man.
What's that?
Yeah. You're taking all our bowl spots and the bowl money. You know, see, here, you know, that's why we care about.
But that's the thing, though, is you still get big freaking money and viewership. You want to tell me the Rose Bowl from 2021? It was one of the most watched, and it was my Utes and Ohio State.
That's always your Utes or somebody from Big Ten. It's like somebody like me. There's no interest in that game for me. It's like, hey, come watch the champ from two overrated programs.
Now, Hillbilly, you got to be wise to the fact that you watch your football team first, right? It's your football team.
Right.
You watch your team first. And if your team ain't on, you're watching your conference second. Well, your conference is on all day. What do you give it? I don't watch hardly anybody unless I don't have a conference game on. So I don't really give a crap who's playing in the SEC. They don't affect me. Well, and that's how most fans, it's regional. So everybody coming on and, you know, unless you're on the East Coast, look, I live in Florida and I'm a Utah fan. I have to stay up late to watch, and I do it. I have to pay to be able to watch. I do it. Do my neighbors give a crap? Their lights are out at 10. They ain't watching football.
Well, here's how it's hurting you, Larry. 22 of the 36 5-star recruits, guess where they went this year? The SEC. I mean, you can sit here and say, oh, Bob Knight's giving us $1 billion. Guess what? The guys who pack the football don't give two shakes for that shit.
Exactly. And that's what I said. Cultures.
You're not making a good product, though, right?
I'm telling you, I live in Florida. I've lived on both coasts, okay?
Yeah.
You go to the West Coast, there is so much more to do. It's just different culture. It's more I'm not saying it's more family oriented. So like here in the South, it's Friday night football, right? Mm-hmm. They don't do that on the West Coast. It's family Saturday. It's people taking their kids to soccer and youth football is played on Saturdays. Soccer games are Saturdays. Saturdays in the West are family days. So I don't know, you know, I don't know if anybody's ever explained this to people that live on the East Coast. On the West Coast, Saturdays are family days. They go camping. Football is not the world over there. So you're not going to convince people to turn on the TV because some guy's carrying the rock. It's just, it means more in the SEC. It just means more in the SEC.
Because you're a Utah fan. As a Utah fan, would you rather be in the Pac-12 playing like Cal and Oregon State and Washington State and those teams, or would you rather be in the Big 12 where you could play BYU? You know, you could play West Virginia, you could play Oklahoma State things. Which one would you rather do?
I would rather play Oregon and Washington than any team that's in the Big 12. I would rather play Oregon and Washington than we play BYU 12. We've played BYU 10 of the last 12 years, and we aren't in the same conference. And in fact, we play them again next year. Well, who knows what's going to happen, Joey? If they're going to, cancel that? They're probably not, because the people that run those universities, not the ADs and the coaches, don't want to play that game. It's the politics in the state of Utah that forces that game. That game doesn't want to be played by anybody because it's just gotten so nasty as far as it's ugly. I mean, you've seen the BYU Utah fan board crap. It's ugly.
Do you realize how ugly the West Virginia and Pitt rivalry is? It's pretty bad.
It's nasty.
They're 45 minutes apart, and 10 years that game wasn't played when West Virginia came to the Big 12. For the first 10 years, that game was gone.
And see, I only learned about that one, Joey, this last year when it got, Golden Blue Dude. I subscribed and started watching that, and I was like, man, you guys are, go shit.
That's what hurts with conference realignment. That's what hurts with conference realignment. It hurts the fan more than anything. Conference realignment hurts the fans because you get used to playing a team. You get excited. You get excited about one team or something that you're going to play. I was always excited as a West Virginia fan when we were going to play Pitt, Virginia Tech, Penn State. That always excited me. But then here we go, moving to the Big 12, and all those rivalries are gone.
Right. And see, that's, here I am, a Utah fan. Okay. And anybody that's a fan of any of their team, put yourself in my shoes and then listen to these people sit and spit this garbage at me. What do you want me to do? You know what I mean? It's like, you want destruction. You want to say my team's garbage. You want to say we bring you down. We do. It's like, really? Like, come on, man. Let's be a better class of people. That's been my biggest complaint.
I'll be honest with you. I love Pac-12 football. I watch Pac-12 football every year. But I noticed that it's getting harder to watch. And if you bring in a new TV deal now, and let's say you do end up signing with Apple TV, I won't see very many Pac-12 games. Guys, super chat coming in. John Tell, $2 super chat. Utah and Utah State works just fine for me. Yeah, I don't know. I enjoy watching Utah. I can remember we played you guys in a bowl in 2015.
Yeah, Greer wasn't playing, which kind of sucked because I wanted, you know what I mean. You want, when you beat somebody, you want them, especially with their quarterback. They're missing a running back or receiver. You can go, okay, whatever. But you guys were missing your quarterback. I was just like, damn it.
Yeah, that was it was 2017. Then Greer came in, because he broke his finger in the Texas game.
Yeah, so we didn't get to play against Greer. So it was pretty much a given. Utah was going to win. So, but yeah,
you guys think it's okay though, right? Like for teams from a conference, right? They call themselves Power Five. Going to win a conference championship, take up a huge spot in the college playoff, in the playoff, just to get trounced.
So what? So what? So what?
So what? That's shitty football.
So what?
Who wants to
I don't care.
You only got
I don't care.
I do.
You know what? I coach Little League football, and it's like, we taught our kids, you go out there.
Ball games either, right? You see what
What's
I'm saying?
that?
I said, yeah, you coach Little League. They shouldn't be playing college.
You know what?
Games.
The last time Utah played Alabama, they whooped them. So shut the hell up.
Oh, yeah.
Utah beat Alabama, bro. So stop.
Watching the Blue Moon? Stop, dude. Come on, stop. Bama's got 6 of the last 13 championships.
They better. They got a lot of great recruits. Here's the thing. I just gave SEC props and said it means more in the South. Okay. I gave you a compliment and said it means more in the South. And all you do is continue to insult me.
I'm not trying.
And all I have done has been nothing but cordial to you.
I'm not trying to insult you, Larry. I'm talking about football, dude. If your fee-fees are that touchy, maybe you should, go somewhere else. It's like, to me, I'm talking about what I want to see on the screen. I'm not.
Then don't watch Pac. Nobody's twisting your damn arm and telling you to watch it, dude.
I have to watch the bowl game every year, dude. I have to.
How many bowl games are on? You don't have to watch any bowl game at all, bro. You don't have to watch one. You can just watch the SEC. I don't go on there. I see. That's the thing. I don't sit here and say, you know what? I don't want to watch this team and this team because they're G5 or they're this. I have respect for the fact that it's football and those people have fans. I have respect. They have love for that. I'm not going to disrespect somebody's relationship with their football team.
in all fairness, Hillbilly, I'll be honest with you. When it comes to like SEC in a bowl game, if I have my choice of watching USC or Utah, I'll put Utah in there. If I have my choice of watching Utah play in a bowl game as opposed to Mississippi State in a bowl game, I'm gonna pick the Utah game.
See, look, Barry, I'm a Kentucky fan. What chance am I going to have to watch my team in a bowl game anyway?
Pretty
Hey
good
man, you
chance
guys
now.
you guys are getting better. You guys are getting better.
Yeah, we are, but I just want to watch. I guess what I'm saying, man, is like it's too diluted. The college football world is just too diluted, man, and it's like there's never any. How can I say this? It's like it's always the same ones at the top, okay, and they're always like upheld by bias, and how can I say? Well, it's basically just bias, right, to keep the status quo going, man. And it, like, to me, it hurts the quality of the games.
Yeah, it does. I mean, when you've got, like you said, at the SEC, man, there is no doubt they're the best conference. They get the most talent. You know, they're going to win the most championships just because they've just got the talent. But like you say, you know, you're a Kentucky fan. You guys aren't going to get those recruits from LSU and from Georgia and Alabama. You know, you got to do the best with what you got, and NIL and transfer portal hopefully can kind of square it off a little. But now you got the networks pulling the blue bloods and pulling them all together to where, what are we going to have? Just, you know, 30 blue blood programs and the rest of us are fighting for scraps. Who wants to see that?
Well, I mean, that's what it's becoming though, man.
I don't know. I think that'll kill college football because it's a national sport. And I mean,
I mean, having the Power 5 schools, right, hasn't stopped the, you know, like the Group of 5 or, you know, Division II or something like that.
I like seeing Group of 5 teams. Okay, we came from a Group of 5, Cincinnati, UCF. You like to see these teams get promoted that start doing good, and maybe they can build themselves into something, you know, 10 years down the road. I mean, we've been in the conference in the Power 5 for 10 years. We're not dominant, but we're a top 25 team for the last 4 or 5 years, you know, legitimately. And, you know, I don't mind seeing Cincinnati and UCF reaching that because they have the potential to be something really great, you know, and maybe
both of your schools, Utah and Kentucky, are two teams that, you know, I would watch. I love watching teams that aren't always in big bowl games make big bowl games. So Utah and Kentucky are two teams I definitely watch. Now, I'm just looking at this chart. Utah is 40th over a 5-year span, average attendance of only 39,000 people.
Who?
That's pretty bad. That's Utah.
No,
Average
they're
attendance,
actually
39.
see now here. Hold on, Joey. What's really weird is I've heard that their stadium just got expanded, but they were at 46, I believe, and went to 51, or they were 41 and went to 46. Did you know Utah is number 1 in all of college football for stadium percentage full? They've been sold out. They've been sold out for 78 straight
in
home
2022,
games.
your average attendance in 2022 was 52,057, 101% of your stadium capacity. That was 2022.
We just expanded.
But on a 5-year span, you're at 39,333, 76% of your stadium field. But
how can you say that when we've had a sellout for 78?
I'm not saying that. That is college football news today saying that.
Yeah, that's wrong. I'm just telling you that's wrong.
I go down here to
Utah is the number 1 team. And guess where I got that stat? Sikkim 365 put out the stat. It was about a month ago, and they showed the Big 12 and the Pac-12. Utah was number 1 in the nation, not just the Pac-12, Big 12. They're number 1.
Kentucky, their average attendance over a 5-year span is 47,000, still just 77% of their stadium. And 2022, their average was 60,000, filling 98%. So what it shows you, though, is winning football games fills your stadium, right? But correct. I think we all need to support our team, whether we're winning or losing. We need to go to the games if we can and fill the stadiums, because that helps with television and television helps with exposure, and exposure helps get 4 and 5 star recruits. And it just goes right on down the line. It all starts with the fan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, like the Big Ten, right, has all the hype, even though they have, when's the last time they beat an out of conference top 5 team? They can't do it. It's like they haven't been able to do it, and for like years.
Yeah, but they have all the hype because they've got all the attendance. Did you hear that? It's like every Big Ten team is in the top 25.
Right. And because of that, and I'm not saying that it's right, but because of that, right, like Joel Klatt and all these status quo talking heads already have Ohio State and Michigan in the top 5 for preseason next year.
John Tell, thank you for the follower super chat. He says, if it's always the same few teams, it isn't diluted, it's concentrated. What we need is some fresh blood, but gatekeepers are blocking out fear. Yeah, I agree. Golden Voodoo says this to you, Larry. He says, in all due respect, 80% of Power 5 teams would have 100% attendance with the capacity of Utah. Now, if you had 70,000 seat stadium, then that would be an impressive stat.
They've sold out, and that's the thing. That's why they expanded to 51 or 50 or 51, and they're sold out. It's not. That's what I'm saying. That number is wrong. Utah has sold out 78 straight home games. They took 60,000 people to an 80,000 seat stadium in Pasadena. I went to the Florida game this year. Did you know there was 16,000 Utah fans in Gainesville at that stadium? 16,000 fans. Utah's 2,500 miles away.
That's awesome.
So Utah,
and then look at what that's doing for the program too. Look how good the program's starting to get.
No, they've been filling. I'm telling you, they've been filling since they got in the Pac-12. They've sold out their stadium since they've been in the Pac-12. And we even had 2 5-7 seasons, and we still sold out the stadium. So, yeah, you can pull numbers from wherever you want, and try to tell me that the stadium's only at 80% capacity. No, go look at who percentage, and
I'm just looking at. Yeah. I'm looking now. That's a 5-year. That's a 5-year thing. So if you go back 5 years, you go back to 2018. I don't know what your capacity was then. I don't know how many.
I think it was
40,
45. It was 45, I think.
Right, and I don't know if they figured that in when they done this ranking. These aren't my rankings. These are college football. What is the collegefootballnews.com? That's
right. And there's another one that did. There's another one that did the deal that Utah has the highest percentage of home games in the country. They don't have 100,000 seat stadium, which that's a lot to fill. That's impressive. I don't give a shit what team it is. That's impressive. You get 100,000 people in there. But Utah traveled 60,000 out of state to Pasadena. Am I making sense? You're like, I'm saying, if they could get 60,000 to go 2 states away, don't you think they would fill 60,000 right there in their neighborhood?
How far is the trip, Pasadena? How far is that trip?
1,200 miles, I think. It's a 12-hour. No, it's not 1,200. It's about a 12-hour trip. That's without traffic. But everybody I talked to, it took them 2 days to get there because of the traffic. So, yeah. No, I could pull numbers.
Verified. I mean, I know. I'm gonna tell you right now, in Pasadena, you had more people there. That's for sure.
The Rose Bowl holds 85,000, and it was. They said it was 60,000 of it was Utah fans. Did you see the stadium? It was all red except for the one little section.
Yeah. So if we look at that, and I'm not saying anything about. I'm not saying this in a bad way, but it's the truth. It's just how you have to look at this. The average size of a stadium in the SEC and the Big Ten is close to 100,000.
Right, but what's the size?
You're operating at 50% of the numbers of the SEC.
I know. Well, don't compare the Pac-12 to the SEC or the Big Ten. What's the average stadium in the Big 12?
Average stadium in Big 12 is about 70 to 80,000 probably.
See, that's the thing. Don't compare Power 5 to Power 5.
Right. Now, when you talk about Power 5, now you're starting to talk about people that put into the NCAA that fund that. Okay, the Autonomous 5. They're the ones running that.
Right.
And you're also talking about the flagship University of California, the flagship University of Washington, of Colorado, of Arizona, Oregon. You're trying to tell me that they don't get to be Power 5 because me and you deem them not worthy? That's not how it works. Well, they're flagship universities. Kentucky is the flagship, right? Not Louisville. The University of Kentucky is the state-backed university.
It's the main state. It's the biggest.
Yeah.
State.
Okay. That you're a flagship university. You're going to have P5 status forever. You're just that's the way it is. You carry that weight.
We're talking college football here on Golden Blue Dude, and we're talking about stadium size. Anybody would like to join us, talk about your stadium and your stadium size? I'm going to post a link there in StreamYard. Come on in and join us. Got any Michigan fans in the house? You guys, according to this, are number one. Come on in and talk to us about it and tell us about the atmosphere. Well, so the atmosphere in Utah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know about the traditions. Like in Morgantown, we sing country roads after the game, and we have 50,000 fans that stick around just to sing that song. They don't care about traffic. 50,000 of them will stay there and sing that song. Now I know it's 20,000 leave, but still.
Yeah.
Is there a tradition in Utah for, after the game and stuff?
I mean, just the Utah fight song, pretty much like you guys got one of the best songs there is, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
most people don't get to take one of the best songs ever written and get to use it as their anthem. So that is pretty cool. And just to let you know, my sister's a mountaineer. She actually grew up in West Virginia, Parkersburg.
Oh, okay. So well, good. I'm glad to know there's some smart ones in your family. I'm just kidding with you.
Here's the thing that gets me about this, right? Like my point of view about this whole thing. It's like we're sitting here talking, right? They can't fill the stadium. They can't get the views. They can't get the players. But they want to compete on the same level. Now I understand what you're saying, the political reasons behind it.
Yep.
But that affects the product, right? That's the thing that I would like to see get out of it. It's like whether Utah or Oregon or Washington, right, have a Power 5 status or not, they're always going to have people watch their football games, right? We have. I went to a small university here in Eastern Kentucky called Morehead State. Our claim to fame is Phil Simms, right, from the New York Giants, right? That was. Okay, yeah, but we still go to our games, but we're not expecting to be in the to be a contender for a major bowl spot every year. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not. And it's like, to me, that really affects the product that you see on the field. Now,
I mean, I can't. I mean, you have valid points, and I don't disagree. And that is a big problem in the Pac-12. And what's funny is a team that's supposedly worth $80 to $100 million only has 10,000 fans in the stadium or leaving the conference because they're worth so much money, but they have nobody at their damn stands. So explain that one to me.
Yeah, and that kind of shocked me when the Big Ten took them, knowing that those fans don't support that program.
Because I guess it's all about they can sell subscriptions to the networks or whatever. So, I mean, in all honesty, guys, maybe the streaming thing, if all conference, I mean, it's going to suck if it does do that. But if you have streaming, these networks can't pull this crap they're pulling. They're just pulling UCLA because they can sell subscriptions. It's like there's more doorsteps here to throw the newspaper on, so we get more money. It doesn't matter what the house looks like. We get the money. It doesn't matter how they invest. It's just It's ridiculous
I'm
because
curious about
Washington,
something.
Utah, and Oregon have some of the best fan bases in the Pac-12. They fill their stadiums, they travel, and the rest of everybody else seems kind of fanfare, you know.
I want the people in the chat just to type in "I do" or "I don't" for me. How many of you subscribe to ESPN Plus? Just how many subscribe to ESPN Plus? I'm just curious about that.
Right.
And do you two, Hillbilly? Do you subscribe to ESPN Plus?
No, I do not. I don't subscribe to anything ESPN, man.
How about you, Larry?
I have Amazon Prime, Hulu, Netflix, Apple TV. So
Yeah.
I have them
So
all.
when they came out with this ESPN Plus thing, right? It was supposed to be the thing of the future. It was a way to watch games that you couldn't see on TV, that they would stream it on. They would make it a streaming service, right? And it's supposed to help everybody. So Hillbilly says I don't. Tyler, I don't. DWE says no. Iron says he does. Golden Voodoo does not. Ron does not. Hoghead does not. Jack Cox, he subscribes. Gumby does not. Twisted Rooster does not. James Blankenship does not. Zornell does not. Lewis does. He says it's a must for UFC. Kurt Blake does not. Lonnie does not. I mean, look at this. No, all the way down through here. So,
I'd rather
that's what gets me.
I'd rather watch the games with guys like you, and
Yeah.
It's more interesting. You guys have a personal take that, you know what I'm saying, like just guys like us watching football together.
Yeah.
You have a personal take, and people have perspectives that you're not going to get from the ESPN and stuff like. And then it's all the political sneering and all that type of societal control stuff they try. It's like it's not even worth it to me. It's like I can't enjoy it for the forest way of the trees, man, with that stuff.
John Tell, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says, don't forget Washington State fans. They are super legit.
Yeah, they are. Those two. It just, Washington State, even Oregon State's got some great fans. It just, and Joey, when we're talking about ESPN Plus, which games, see, because I would have had ESPN Plus, but I didn't have to. Because Utah's pretty much, they're televised on Fox and ESPN, either FS1, ESPN2. They have to have their 3 Pac-12 games. And so I have Pac-12 network. So I never had to have ESPN Plus. But there was what conference did you have to go if you wanted to watch your team? You would have to have ESPN Plus.
Well, I know the Big 12, like West Virginia plays a game or two on it every year. I think they're committed to one. I think that's how it is. They are committed to play one game on ESPN Plus every year. I think it's the same way with Oklahoma and Texas.
See, did you have ESPN Plus to watch that game?
No, I have a friend though that has it. He has it for other reasons, not for football, and so I was able to log on to his account and watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the thing about it. I don't subscribe to it either. Why would I subscribe to it?
Right.
Here's my thought on this. If you're going to do this, if you're going to have streaming service, I think you just have to go to it, period. So if you're going to be the Pac-12 and you want to do a lot of streaming service, just create an app, hire your own television crews to go out and film the games, and just charge so much to subscribe to that app, and do it that way. And that way, everybody subscribes. The team can just split the money, or whatever. And then you can still do some games on ESPN. You could have your ESPN contract or whatever, but have an app. I think that's better than having a network. A Pac-12 network, half people can't watch it.
Right. So, and so from what, I mean, I know these talks have been going on for a while. And when it was first going down, when they were talking about the streaming in Amazon, they were talking about somebody possibly buying all the rights, but then ESPN and Fox possibly purchasing like maybe some premier games or, doing a piecemeal with it. So I don't know how that's going to work. And the Pac-12 network has everything set up. So who knows what's going to happen? I just want the best thing for my university.
Hey,
You know?
guys, you guys sitting here talking about the TV. This is something, right? Let's enter the speculation zone here a little bit, right? We're on GBD.
Yeah, the speculation zone. I need your little squirrel.
Right.
I need.
ESPN, guys, is hemorrhaging cash, losing subscribers. It's looking really bad. Disney's talking about selling ESPN, right? Or if they can't, get it lined back out. Just pure speculation here. What happens if ESPN goes under? What happens to all the TV deals? Or just any major network like that? What happens if they go under and all these contracts are up in the air like that?
Yeah, that's possible.
Could that speed things up? There's always
It could sure speed up conference realignment, couldn't it? Because because I don't know how you could hold somebody to a grant of rights if you're breaking it yourself.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I've heard they're hemorrhaging. How much are they paying for everything they got? Aren't they? I mean, they're in the NFL. No, they're not in the NFL anymore.
They got the NBA.
Yeah. So I mean, they've got money coming out left and right, but they're probably the most viewed channel on cable and dishes, I would imagine, though. Of any
now,
channel.
Ron in the chat says ESPN is not going broke. He says that's crazy talk.
I don't know. That's Disney talk. Is that what he said?
Crazy talk. He said that's crazy talk. ESPN is not going broke.
Well, there's people speculating about it online, right?
Ron says Disney's going broke. Ron says Disney's going broke, but not ESPN. Of course, Disney owns ESPN. So.
Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, it's a subsidiary, but yeah. Well, like everybody was like, well, Amazon's laying people off, and it's like, well, Amazon they couldn't even find people, and they were hiring out of their backsides because of the COVID situation, and things are going to come back down to normal a little bit. They're going to lay off. It doesn't mean they're not making money. They just don't.
Now, Gumby has the answer. Gumby's got it all figured out. They just got to stop buying Kirk Herbstreit's flavored lip balm. That'll help them.
They got grease.
Thank you for the $5 super chat. He says the reason the Pac-12 is going streaming because younger people from 18 to 35 have Apple phones. They're looking at a new demographic. I agree with that. They are looking at a new demographic.
Yeah, because the Pac-12 is just not in demand. The only time they get watched on the East Coast is that late game, or if you get a premier game, and especially when there's a lot at stake. Other than that, I mean, people just really aren't watching them. If you get like the USC Utah game when USC was undefeated, and it was late night. I mean, that's you're going to throw that game on. It's the best game of the night. And if you're a late night person and you love college football, that's a good game to throw on. But outside of stuff like that, you're just not going to get a lot of East Coast views, You're just not.
Now, I stream, now I subscribe to YouTube TV during football season. But I could almost not do it because by the end of the day, they always have the West Virginia game on YouTube to watch for free. So,
Pirate,
and I could just listen to it on the radio for free, and then just watch it later on YouTube. Now, one good thing about me is I'm moving to Thailand in June, so I won't be watching no live West Virginia games. I just won't keep up with the score, and then I'll get to watch it on YouTube, and it'll be like I'm watching it for the first time and won't have any idea what's going on.
Oh, there you go.
John Taylor, thank you for the $10 super chat. He says Big PAC, Washington State, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon B, Stanford, Berkeley, Arizona State, C, Utah. Okay, so he's saying A is Washington State and Washington, Oregon State. And B is Stanford and Berkeley, Arizona State. C is Utah, Colorado, BYU, Iowa State. And D is Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Memphis, UCF. E is UCF, USF, Cincy, West Virginia, Texas Pod. So that's what you would do, I guess, if you joined if you had a big PAC, if both conferences would join together. And like I say, I think that would be an ideal thing, is for both conferences to join together. Both conferences would be stronger. Let's face it, guys. without Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12, the Big 12 is a little bit weaker now, right? I mean, it's obvious. Without USC and UCLA in the PAC, the Pac-12 is a little bit weaker. Still got Oregon and Washington, and the Big 12 still has a couple of really good top-notch teams. But how much better could these two conferences be if they joined together? So,
Yeah,
that's an interesting pod system he's got there.
Well, that all went out the window a long time ago when the Big 12 did what they needed to do and added the four G5 teams. I think the merger could have happened, but the Big 12 needed to do what they needed to do at the time. So it would have been nice to know USC and UCLA were leaving. That could have changed a lot of things. And that's where I think I'm pissed the most is the votes were in to bring in Big 12 teams to the PAC, and USC shut it down, or there would have been a merger. So,
yeah, I just think it would be better for them. Now, at the same sense, let's say in 2032, conference realignment starts happening again, because I look for it too, about 2031, 2032. The ACC's contract's up in 2036. So, probably about 5 years before that, they'll start talking about realignment, right? All these ACT teams that want out, want to go to the Big Ten or want to go to the SEC, they'll start dropping like flies and announcing they're going. And at that time, there's going to be teams left behind in the ACC. So, can we form 3 super conferences out of all these teams? I think we can. So, if you figure 20 per conference is a nice number, 60 teams.
Well, how about this speculation zone, guys? Right, like Notre Dame likes to be independent. They can win the ACC from time to time if they join the ACC, but I think they know they couldn't compete with Clemson and Florida State when they're actually good. I don't think Notre Dame would join a conference they know they can't win. Now this is just pure speculation, right? What if Notre Dame wants to start another conference? Could they pull teams from the other Power 5 schools? Like, let's say, could they pull Penn State, a Big East school, away from the Big Ten to start a Notre Dame super conference?
Well, if Notre Dame wants to win, they're not going to pull Penn State.
well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, just for examples or speculation. Like, Notre Dame can command a lot of money in a TV deal, and especially, just something, of course that's never going to happen. Just something fun to think about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, another thing that we have to take into account that's going to change everything, and we don't know, I think it may be a good thing, is when it does go to 12-team playoffs, people may settle in to, hey, you know what? I don't like the Pac-12, the ACC, and the Big 12 may just go, you know what? We kind of get some seats at the table. Let's, I don't want to ruffle the feathers. If you're getting 2 teams out of those conferences in there, you may just want to stay pat and sit, who knows? Once it goes to 12 teams, I think that's going to tell us a lot too, which direction we're going to end up, like Joey said, in 2031.
Now, I see a lot of people saying in the chat, I've seen 2 or 3 people in the chat talking about Fresno State coming to the Big 12. There's no money there for Fresno State. The Big 12 gets no money for adding the group of 5. Nothing. It's in the contract. $0. Nothing. So there's no money there. Teams in the Big 12 are not going to take less to bring in a Fresno State. Now, would teams in the Big 12 take less to bring in a Power 5 team, a good Power 5 team? Maybe. But, because a Power 5 team is only going to guarantee $20 million to come to the Big 12. It only adds $20 million to the pot. So, that's the thing. That's the thing that you got to remember is that Big 12 contract is kind of written in a way that there's a group of 5 teams that might be added, in my opinion, is Gonzaga for basketball and UConn for basketball, because there's nothing there for them in football, but we can pay them some basketball money pretty easy, and they make about $5 or $6 million a year in the Big 12 just playing basketball, compared to probably making $500,000 a year in the Mountain West.
Yeah, any G5 is going to make that jump. And like you just said, and I talked to Chris about, Golden Blue Dude last night, was the networks don't need any more inventory. That's why they're not going to pay anymore. But ESPN will pay for some Power 5 if they can get some matchup, because new blood does create new viewership. If those Pac-12 teams were playing the Big 12 teams on a new basis, people are going to watch that. Like if West Virginia was going to play Oregon and then the next week play Washington, every West Virginia fan out there is going to love that. Am I right?
Yeah.
Viewership's going to go up. So,
well, do you think viewership? It's like, to me, that would take viewership away. It's like when the teams move from the Pac-12 to the Big 12, you increase the number of teams in the Big 12, and then when you backfill Pac-12, right? It's like all you really have done is increase the number of games and spread out, right, the base of the, right, you've expanded the base of the people who can watch it. But,
yeah, I don't think the group of 5 draws. They just don't draw the numbers. But that's why I think ESPN would pay for Power 5, because it will draw. I mean, if you look at some of the biggest numbers out there, they're out of conference games. You put some of these big brands or some of these decent brands against each other, they bring in big draws. Like, okay, BYU Baylor was a huge draw. And by themselves, they're not, when they just play their standard schedule, they don't pull those numbers. But when they play to each other, they pull double them. So that's why I'm saying I think out of conference, new blood.
Those viewers, right? Those viewers come like when a program moves up to a Power 5 or something, and then they get better time slots or something like that on CBS. It's like there's only so many games that can be watched in the prime time slots.
Yep.
And it's like, to me, you're diluting the field so much, and it's like eventually, you're going to always be getting, like the Fresno States and the San Diego States are going to be taking these, now like me, I would watch something like a really good West Coast football team, like some of the big Pac-12, like you're saying, Oregon and Washington.
Right.
I watch those guys play, like, let's say, in a primetime game. But I don't want to watch Oregon and Fresno, man. I don't want to take up my –
Well, yeah.
And it's like you're broadening the base of those kind of games, though. And
but they relegate those games. So when you're talking tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, Alabama, when ESPN gets their pick, or CBS, they're not picking Mizzou versus Vandy, that's what I said. Utah, thank God they've been doing really good. I get them on ESPN2, FS1, Fox. Like, they're on. I get them on the main channels. They're a main draw. I think Oregon is the same way. Oregon is pretty much on the premium channels. But you get Arizona and Colorado. They're at the bottom. I don't even know where I could find them sometimes.
So you guys think adding all these extra teams, right, like the into the major conferences is a good thing for the game? Do you think that's a thing for viewership?
I think it's a good thing for the school that's getting brought in.
Right.
I think it's a good thing for them because it helps them a lot. Research money and everything goes up. So it helps the schools a lot. So I'm all for that, to helping these schools out. It just doesn't. It kind of dilutes. When we look at it as a football conference, right? So it dilutes the football, but we don't look at what it brings in other things, and that's what we have to look at as a fans. We can't just look at it and say, well, it dilutes the football, and I don't want to watch it. That's fine, but these schools make a lot of money by bringing in a San Diego State or a Fresno State. The conference gets more money. It helps things. But it doesn't help.
I see Hillbillies. I see his point, and I see it to a degree. Like, yeah, I think people should earn it. Like I feel like UCF, Cincinnati, when you've got a strong fan base, and you've got administrators and all of that, and you've got the boosters, and you've got everything there to build that company up to go compete against some of the bigger brands. I think, yeah. But when you take some of, no disrespect to Boise State at all. I mean, they're a good football program, but I don't know if you guys know much about Idaho. It would take them a long time. It's taken Utah to finally get into the top and to get in the 20s in recruiting after 10 years of success. Boise State wouldn't be able to do that. Salt Lake's a huge 2 million people in that valley. Boise is, Boise, I respect them, but no, they're a dilution. But they can have, if they get all those super seniors, they can have some good years here and there and run with anybody almost, on a good
John
day.
Tell, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says Fresno put cheats up UCLA's you know what.
You know there, Todd, maybe I think there was like 7 of the Oregonian counties voted to join Idaho and secede from Oregon. Did you hear about that? Maybe they can get a few more butts in the seats.
Now, here's the other thing people don't. So also the Mountain West, what was funny is they did really good in 2021, right? The whole conference did really, really good. They were pretty much 6th year senior COVID guys, the whole Mountain West in 2021. So they were going to do good because that's, when those bottom dweller teams, or I can't say bottom dweller, but the G5 teams will get that 3rd, 4th year where they're upperclassmen. And they'll kick some butt. Well, the Mountain West in 2021 were like all 6-year upperclassmen, and they had some really damn good teams. I mean, Fresno took Oregon in Autzen down to the wire, and then Oregon goes the next week and beats Ohio State in the shoe. So,
that's
thank you for the $2 super chat. It says ask Chip Kelly and El Lund about Boise State. Yeah, Boise State's been a good team for a lot of years. They've won some big games. But here's the thing I've always tried to make this point. It's a lot different playing a Power 5 conference, playing Power 5 teams day in and day out every week, and then having to play a one-off game here and there. So
Joey,
you can take a Boise State or a Marshall, like Marshall beat Notre Dame last year. Sure, Marshall could beat Notre Dame in a one-off game, but if they're playing in a Power Conference and they're playing Power 5 teams every week, they're not going to beat a Notre Dame. They're not going to be able to stand up to that.
Yep.
That's like, one thing though, you got to say about Boise State, man. It's like, they found a way to make themselves stand out. Everybody who hears Boise State immediately thinks of that blue football field.
Yep. I agree. That's what I mean. I have a lot of respect for Boise State. We used to share a conference with them and TCU and BYU. And, that's the thing, Joey. I hope you had some BYU fans on. We've been trying to tell them for years that you go into a Power 5 versus, when we were in the Mountain West, we could go through that schedule and get 2 or 3 Power 5 teams. And if our starters and we were upperclassmen, we could give them a hell of a fight. But you catch us in a freshman, sophomore year, and we had just one guy, a couple stars get hurt, we'd get our asses creamed. And we've been trying to tell that to BYU guys. You ain't facing great teams 5, 6 weeks out of the year and then actually playing the other 5 or 6 they're okay, and they told us we don't know what we're talking about. I'm like, we've learned firsthand what it takes to step into a
the thing about it is in a so now of all the 4 teams that came into the conference, if any team's more prepared, it is BYU because they do play a lot of Power 5 teams. But compared to Cincinnati or Houston or UCF, who's used to playing 1, maybe 2 Power 5 teams every year. At least BYU does play 4, 5, or 6 Power 5 teams every year. So that they're more prepared than anybody else coming in. But they're not going to be totally prepared. They're not going to have the talent to keep up with Power 5 teams week in and week out. John Tell, thanks again for $2 super chat. Says Boise State undefeated in Fiesta Bowl, Oklahoma, Arizona, and TCU. You're right. And Boise State, like we're saying, those are one-offs. Anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday. We do know that. But if you're playing Power 5 schedules, and you
Yep.
got to play. You got to go to Morgantown. So here, let's just look at BYU and say, okay, they got to go to Morgantown, and then they get to go home, and they got to face, I don't know, Oklahoma State. Then they got to go on the road to play Texas Tech down in Lubbock, right? Then they get to come home and play Kansas State, and then they got to go on the road and face TCU. This stuff, those are tough games. I mean, you know, when you go on the road in the Big 12 or in any conference, when you go on the road, that's a tough environment. And
Yep.
you know, so that's the thing about it. That's where these teams are going to struggle. So I think these teams will be lucky coming in to win one road game in the coming into Power 5. I think
Well,
they'll
Well,
be
Joey,
lucky.
it'll be the first.
Road game.
It'll be early, and then as their
Right.
guys, as their number ones start going down, the difference between that number one starter in a G5 on a G5 team versus a P5, that second guy would be your number one on a G5. And so
Yeah.
they don't understand that. Utah learned the hard way, you know, and
here's
that's what it is.
You know, like you were saying, Notre Dame, right? Marshall, you know, wouldn't beat Notre Dame, you know, if they had to play that game over 5 more times. I kind of agree with that, right? It's like you can't say Marshall is more than they actually are. But here's a problem I always find with a lot of college football analysis is they dismiss what that means Notre Dame or the other team is not. It's like, oh, man, they'd never do that again. So it's like they don't really take it too serious. I'll give you a case in point, you know, like Notre Dame, I'll bet you they'll be ranked in the preseason top 10 again next year, just like they were this year, even though they could. It's like Ohio State. Who was that beat them back the year before last? It was like the second was Oregon, right?
Oregon.
Ohio State, right?
Yep.
And then I had to list all week, dude. You know, that's what I'm saying.
Columbus.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to hear this stuff from the regular talking heads, right? Like the Josh Payton, the Joel Klatt, and, you know, if you watch an ESPN video, all week I had to sit there and listen. Oh, Ohio State is better than they played. You know, it's like, yeah, good job. They're basically saying, oh, Oregon State is good, but Ohio State should have beat them. And so we're just going to – they didn't even drop Ohio State out of, I think, like the top 10 after that loss, man.
Yeah, they shot Oregon up pretty high, and then Oregon went and lost at Stanford. You know, it's like, what is going on?
And it's
So,
like,
John Tell, thanks again for the $2 super chat. And he makes a point here, and it is true. It's easier to make the jump now because of the transfer portal.
you
Very
gotta have
true.
them back it up, though. You got to have
Yeah.
them.
But here's the thing about it, right? Yeah, you got to look at this. If a player is leaving Clemson, for instance, let's say Clemson has a 4-star recruit that's leaving, he has the transfer portal. He's not going to be picked up by Houston or UCF or BYU or anybody like that, because here's why. He's used to leaving great facilities. He's been there at Clemson. He has fantastic facilities, has the best of everything. He's going to want to stay somewhere that's got to have the best of everything. So coming into the Big 12, and they're going up against teams that do have the best of everything, like a West Virginia, who has probably some of the best facilities in the Big 12, or an Oklahoma State. That's going to be tough for them to get that player over top of those teams, just for that reason.
Yeah. I think an established program is going to get the better transfers over somebody that's kind of, you know, just entering the fray or is not as, you know, on the up and up. But
they can get some good Power 5 players still out of the transfer portal. I'm not saying they're not going to get that. I'm saying they're not going to get the top-notch ones. They're not going to get the best that's in the transfer portal.
Right.
No, and they're going to have to build, and their fans, like you said, Joey, it's all about the fans. The fans drive it. The fans drive the money. They drive the recruit. They drive the whole thing. And
exactly.
It's 100% because the Big Ten gets the viewers, the SEC gets the viewers. That's why they got those contracts. Those people turn on those channels and watch them. And so, but it's the fans that drive it. And so you don't think as a Utah fan, it's hard to be in a conference where you got what's going on. You know, we've got a very rabid fan base, you know, and we're stuck with teams if, you know, they're struggling to get a bowl, like that nobody's in their stands. It sucks. So,
well, we've been on a little over an hour. I'm going to have to start wrapping this show up, but I want to give everybody. I'm gonna give you guys a final chance to give us your final word and stuff before we have to get off here. So, Larry, let you go first. Give me your final thought there, buddy.
I'm just hoping that the Pac-12 can just, hang in there and be good and get a deal done. And I hope everybody else's team is, feels good and solid. That's where I'm at.
I agree. Thanks for coming in, Larry. Appreciate you
Thanks,
being
Joey.
here. Hillbilly, give us your final word, buddy.
Hey guys, to me, I feel like the best college football teams are going to continue to coalesce around the better conferences. There's eventually going to have to be a split just because of the concentration of talent. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's probably going to take a long time to happen. But to me, there's eventually, like, we're going to have to lose a couple of Power 5 conferences, or maybe a couple of conferences leave the NCAA and start their own type of athletic association. Who knows? But eventually, it seems to me the big programs are going to want to command the money themselves.
Yeah. Everybody, appreciate you coming in. Guys, I appreciate everybody being here today. Had some great comments out here in the comment section. I'm still reading some and things. Clint, I see what you're saying and things. And I agree. Yeah, they had great transfer class. Did really well. How do they fit in with with the rest of the team? What kind of recruits do you get overall at SMU? Are you going to be able to compete in the Pac-12? Are your number two is going to be as good as your number ones? That's what I'm talking about. So, anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody being here. Thanks for coming in. Golden Voodoo should be back with us tomorrow. And until then, everyone have a great night. We love you and see you tomorrow.